Hello and welcome to our local to global series here on the Random Wrestling Review. We've reached November of 1999. We are very much on the road to Y2K. And I think it will be great when we can get to the year 2000, but we've still got plenty of stuff to do this year and plenty of, I wouldn't say plans, but ideas about what we're going to do going forward. The first thing that we need to do is not add a new TV show, it's add a new event. And I'm going to get the game to suggest the name because I was like, I don't know, I don't have no idea what this is going to be called. Night of Combat, very nice. RWR Showdown, that'll do. I don't, it's not very good or special um or memorable, but it will do for what I'm looking at the moment. I'm just going to check the availability because we did have a problem with our Mondays. Specifically, Monday week 4 we had a problem with, not this time apparently. So Monday week 2 is what we want. An RWR Showdown, which is a one-off event. We're not going to do it again. Is in the books or ready to go anyway. What am I doing? I'm trying to just check the availability again. Yeah, we're fine. So that is the show in place. Let's move on to the next player-controlled show, which I have got a full plan for the card. So I'm looking forward to bringing that to you. I think it contains some interesting stuff. Just a moment really for me to say that if you enjoy this video at any point in the video, please give it a like. It's always really, really appreciated. Although I think you have to kind of give it a like later in the video if to prove that you actually did like it. I think. I'm not sure. I've had a report from somebody that suggests that they've been liking all the videos, but it hasn't really been increasing the number of likes. I don't know. Whatever. I don't know. I'm not a YouTube expert, but it's always good to get likes. So yeah, click on the like button if you do enjoy this episode. Probably less likely now after all this talk of the like button, but there we go. And also subscribe if you've been following along. And we have been continuing as I record this to receive new subscribers to the channel. I don't know whether they are subscribing to continue to watch this series or the series where we review every single match in WrestleMania history. Either way, it's very, very welcome. Thank you. Welcome aboard. Let's have some fun. Cactus Jack is set to sign a contract extension to stay with New Japan, apparently, according to this news story. The Uprising has formed in UWA. Super Astro, Satanico, Rey Bucanero, El Cuervo, and Superboy. Genichiro Tenryu has won the FMW Brass Knucks title in the main event against Steve Williams and Stan Hansen in a barbed wire triple threat match. Love it. Also, new champion in ECW, Balls Mahoney has been beaten by Manny Fernandez at November to Remember. In the main event, El Bronco defeated New Jack to retain the ECW World title in an 89 rated match. How is it that good? It just doesn't make sense. Sandman defeated Steve Corino in an 80 rated match, so another pretty decent show there. And I think that's all the news from the previous night. Trish Stratus has entered the game and joined WWC. When did she enter the game? When is her debut? I've forgotten how even to find out now. I've been able to find this really easily in the past. There you go. So she came in literally this week. No, hang on. No, last week she came in and immediately has been snapped up by WWC. WWC are doing some really good business in the way that they're going about things. They're snapping up young, talented wrestlers with real potential. Let's have a look at their roster. Alex Wright, Big Dick Dudley, Bill Irwin, Billy Graham, Buddy Landau, Carlos Colon, cheerleader Melissa Christopher Daniels, Cybernetico, David Mann, Dean Malenko. They've got Goldberg, they've got Jake Roberts, Jeff Hardy, Jeff Jarrett, they've got Johnny B. Bad, Kurt Angle. Yeah, they really are doing a good job. Billy Gunn of signing people, with potential. The Rock, for example, Sean Morley, Tommy Dreamer, and Trish Stratus just recently. Like, I think their hiring practices, their scouting mechanisms are working really well at the moment for them. So we're going to do Showdown, which is our latest show. And we're not going to sign anybody, as you will already have guessed, because I didn't do it at the beginning of the episode. We're happy to continue with our current set of wrestlers. So now it's just a case of determining what the first match of the night is going to be. And I think I'm going to go with the first of two tag team matches on this one. It's going to be Ace Steel and Barry Buchanan against Charlie Haas and C.W. Anderson. The continuation of the feud that's going on with the Rebellion kind of joining the roster. This one's going to be a work the crowd match, and the winner is going to be Charlie Haas. He's going to pin, I think we'll have him pin, yeah, let's have him pin Ace Steel. Open match and a pinfall finish. Charlie Haas and C.W. Anderson secure themselves a really big tag team victory in this one. Big enough potentially to make them number one contenders to the tag team titles? Maybe? Question mark. Who knows? We'll see where we go from here after this. Then we're going to have a singles match between Heath Hart and Mark Henry. So this is Mark Henry's return to action. We'll make this short, but a bit longer than the other matches Mark Henry's had. We're going to give Mark Henry the dominant victory in this one. Pinfall finish. And then after the match, we're going to have Mark Henry again attack Heath Hart, with Teddy Hart coming down, but also then getting beaten up as well. So Henry attacks Heath Hart after match. Teddy tries to make save, but is also destroyed. Basically, Mark Henry destroying both men. We'll have a woman here acting, and I think her acting is going to be to try and stop Mark Henry, because obviously the consequences of the last time he did something like this meant that he was suspended for 2 weeks and dropped a point in the ranking system. Let's have a look at the rankings table actually as it stands. Here are the 17 wrestlers on the roster. Dan Severn, obviously the champion, 2 wins from 2 matches. I know what we realised. I haven't revealed what the main event of this showdown event is going to be. Well, it's going to be Kimo against Dan Severn. Kimo challenging Dan Severn for the title. Kimo has a 12 wins. C.W. Anderson's on 10. CM Punk 9, Charlie Haas 8, Sean Stasiak 7, and so on. You'll see here that we've got Mark Henry with 3 matches, 3 wins, but only 2 points because of the point he was deducted. And equally, Dave Batista's down to 4 points at this time because he was deducted a point following his suspension as well. So some disciplinary issues in general, but we've got here another situation with Mark Henry and the Hearts, and this time woman basically trying to get him to stop, but basically being powerless to do so. Then we have another singles contest. It's Sean Stasiak versus ECMO. And in this one, Stasiak versus ECMO, we're going to have it 10 minutes long, and Stasiak's going to win. So again, the Rebellion lose a match. For this one, you can make this one a storytelling match, I think. So that one goes in there. Then we've got 2 other matches, the main event and this one. It's going to be Ace Steel and Barry Buchanan. That's what we just did earlier on, wasn't it? What's the other tag match? This is not working for some reason. It's all gone wrong. Yeah, what's the other tag match I was going to do? Oh, yeah, right. So it's Buddy Wayne, that's right, and Billy Kidman against CM Punk and Chris Adams. Now, I wasn't actually sure which way this was going to go, but I think, given who's involved, I think we can make it go 13 minutes, but I think the winner needs to be CM Punk over Billy Kidman. And I think that will do for this match. Doesn't have to be. Let's give it. No, we're not going to go with slow build. It's not long enough for that. Chris Adams can't go to a match this long. Maybe if we make it storytelling. Yeah, that storytelling seems to allow them to have a little bit of a longer match. But as a consequence, they're making this one a regular match. So Buddy Wayne and Billy Kidman versus CM Punk and Chris Adams. That obviously continues Wayne and Punk's feud. Then next, we're going to have another angle, but this time it's Dave Batista. And he's going to come out and challenge the Shadow to a match. Now, I think this is an escalation that's probably too far in this feud. But basically, Batista's going to challenge the Shadow to a mask versus career match. Answer to come next time. So I'm going to have him off screen. Let's make it 7 minutes. This is going to be a long one for Batista, and he's basically going to big up the fact that he's accomplished everything that he wants to accomplish in the Random Wrestling Review. He'd love to become the RWR champion again, but last month the Shadow and Woman made a decision to put in a complaint against him, and it cost him a point in the rankings, which has left him further away from being the number one contender to the title than he wants to be. He says that he feels that the Shadow needs to reveal his identity, and the fact that he's willing to go to such lengths as to file an official complaint against him for trying to remove that mask only makes him more curious as to who is underneath the mask, and so challenges him to this match, where if he loses, he will leave the Random Wrestling Review. If the Shadow loses, he will have to remove his mask. So that's where we're going. As I say, I feel like it feels like an escalation too far to me. So I don't know whether I'm going to do this. What am I going to do? I haven't made a decision here. I might go back on that. Let's just book the main event first, and then we'll come back to this. So the main event is Dan Severn versus Kimo. I'm hoping that in this one, Kimo really ups the chances of this being a good match, because Kimo is really, really good. I don't think Kimo's going to like losing this way. Just put the RWR Northwest title on the line. Yeah, he's extremely unhappy. We'll keep him strong. I'm happy to keep Kimo strong. I like Kimo. I think he's obviously a good wrestler. And Dan Severn is going to struggle, apparently, through this match. It's only 11 minutes. What if I make it 10? So he can do 10. Dan Severn, I got to remember, Dan Severn can do 10 minutes. So, yeah, I'm just going back to this again. I just feel like at the moment, Batista's I'm struggling with Batista's motivation, basically, in this circumstance. Obviously, he's curious as to who the Shadow is. He wants to find out. He's tried to remove his mask. The Shadow and Woman have, put in a complaint against him, which meant he got suspended for 2 weeks and lost a point in the ranking system. But I still feel like to go from there to where I'm going now feels like it just doesn't ring true. I don't believe Batista would suddenly go, right, fine, you've complained about me, I'm going to now go and create this challenge. So instead, what I might do, I've got an idea instead for what I'm going to do here. So Woman is going to speak to Dave Batista on screen, and then we're going to have the Shadow attack Batista. So Woman calls out Batista, asks for hostilities to cease, then Shadow attacks with chair, something like that. That's what we're going to do, and this way, I feel like the Shadow escalates the feud. Then we can bring this back to Batista challenging the Shadow to the match that I want to do anyway. So that way, there's a little bit more fire under Batista, a little bit more reason why he'd be angry enough to put his entire Random Wrestling Review career on the line against the Shadow, rather than just, you got me suspended, which just feels like a lame reason. So I'm more comfortable with this. So everybody's been booked. There's no problems in terms of that. We're not going to be penalized for this. I think we're ready to go with RWR Showdown. And the show is in front of 103 people, which is another really good 100 plus crowd. And we start with Red Alert versus Ace Steel and Barry Buchanan in a 12-minute, 22-second match that saw Charlie Haas pin Ace Steel with a total hostility. Segment rating here of 36. Barry Buchanan a 33, Ace Steel a 35, Charlie Haas a 32, and CW Anderson a 26. Charlie Haas seemed off of his game in this one, but nevertheless, still perform pretty well, and Red Alert get a big victory here to open the show. Then we have Keith Hart versus Mark Henry in a much better match than Mark Henry's had previously. Was um, his performance was up on the previous performance as well, a 20. Keith Hart at 24, segment rating at 24. Yes, we've realized we've got this problem between Mark Henry and Woman, and you might have already realized, starting to try and lead us to do something about that. Mark Henry gets his 4th victory in a row, but of course only his 3rd point because of that previous deduction of 1 point penalty. After the match, yeah, we know you'd be better off without a manager, Mark. We're doing something about it. After the match, Mark Henry attacks Keith Hart. Woman tries to stop him, tries to reason with Henry, but he won't stop. He attacks Keith Hart, does the splash on him. Teddy Hart then tries to run to the ring and make the save, but is also taken out for the 2nd time in a row. Obviously, Teddy Hart previously injured to this point and hasn't been booked since that injury. And yeah, Mark Henry leaves both men lying as he walks away. Still pretty angry, and his woman is looking concerned for the potential repercussions of once again attacking members of the Hart family. I recognize that actually some of that sounds a little bit as if, the baby face is Mark Henry here, because as if the Hart family are some kind of royal, should be treated as royals, almost as if they can't be attacked. But obviously Bruce Hart is motivated personally to punish Mark Henry because of the fact that he's attacking these guys without provocation as well. It should be noted. Then we have Sean Stasiak versus ECMO in an excellent match. Segment rating of 39 here. Stasiak wins in 10 minutes and 19 by pinfall. Stasiak at 38, ECMO at 32. A really good match. Stasiak is continuing to perform excellently, and we are still building him towards a heel turn. Still just not happened yet. Then Billy Wayne and Billy Kidman take on CM Punk and Chris Adams in a tag team match. Punk beats Billy Kidman with a Shining Wizard after 13 minutes and 2 seconds to give the victory for his team. Billy Kidman was a 29, Billy Wayne a 34, Chris Adams a 34, CM Punk a 38, all pretty much in line with what they've done in the past. The segment rating of 39, another really positive segment here for these two. And CM Punk and Billy Wayne's feud continues. Then we have this great angle here. So look at this, a segment rating of 51. Excellent stuff. Effectively, what we have is that woman comes out, she calls out Dave Batista, and she says that she wants the hostilities between himself and the Shadow to end. She says that she's got enough on her plate with trying to prevent Mark Henry from ruining his own career by once again attacking people and risking further deductions of rankings points without Dave Batista and the Shadow constantly bickering and Dave Batista trying to take the Shadow's mask away. Batista says that he wants to know who the Shadow is. He believes that the Shadow, his identity is significant in some way, and he wants the Shadow to unmask. Woman says that he's never going to unmask. It's as simple as that. He doesn't want to talk in public. He doesn't want his identity to be known, and Dave Batista should just leave it. And then after this, Dave Batista says, all due respect, but, I don't want there to be problems between us, but I need to do what I need to do. After that point, the Shadow comes out, attacks Batista with a steel chair in the back, and then hits him with the chair over and over again until Batista is bent over in agony. Woman improvised well throughout the segment. Batista did a masterful job of improvising interactions with the crowd. As I said, a segment rating of 51, one of the best segments of any kind we've ever had in the company. And this feud continues on to a point where now I feel like Batista might just have the motivation to ask for the match that I was originally going to have him ask for in this event. And then the main event sees Dan Severn defend his Northwest title against Kimo in a match that goes 10 minutes 11 seconds. He wins by submission with the Beast Joker. Again, Severn makes defense number 2 of his title, a segment reign of 39, which is again better than his previous 2 matches, but not quite as good as I'd hoped. I still hope this would be better. Severn, a 32 in-ring performance. I'm worried. I'm worried that that's his ceiling, but we will see. Kimo had an in-ring performance of 47 and was off his game, which might have been why this didn't breach the 40 rating uh, number, which I thought it might get. But still, a good match, and Dan Severn retains the Northwest title. So that's the show. An overall rating of 40, massively helped by the brilliant segment between Woman and Batista and the Shadow. I mean, good matches all the way through, actually. The opening tag match, the second tag match, the Stasiak Echo match, and the Severn Kimo match were all 36 to 39 rated matches. Only Mark Henry versus Keith Hart was less than 30 in terms of matches, and that was to be expected given who was involved. So, a very good show, actually, in general. My my praise. Who's this going to go to this time? I think I'm going to give Charlie Haas some praise. He's been performing in general better than he was in the past. I think the other two though have got to be Dave Batista and Woman, who had that amazing angle with each other. So yeah, they get the praise for the show, and that wasn't too bad at all. It was a show that didn't have huge matches on it, but still pretty good. Let's just check. Our sizing up to 14, so we are getting higher. I did check as well, so we've got our first actually popularity point in Southeast and in the Great Lakes. So our popularity across the US is starting to extend, but also we've got some popularity in Canada here in Alberta, British Columbia, and Saskatchewan, and even maybe a little bit in Mexico. Yep, Noreste Noroccidente, maybe. Don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but anyway, yeah, some some popularity bleeding into other countries, which is good. So we're getting a little bit of notoriety outside of the northwest of the US, which is exciting. So I think we'll move to our. Are we going to move to our next show? You know what? I don't even know what's going to happen on our next show. I've no idea. Well, I've got some idea, like a little bit, but like not a lot. Um, I think the main event is going to be, or at least the title match, is going to be Dan Severn versus C.W. Anderson. So, as I said, Dan Severn is on a kind of mission to prove himself as a worthy champion. So, he's going to defend the title yet again for the third event in a row. And this time it will be against the newest number one contender, which, if we look at the ranking points, given that Anderson and Charlie Haas won their match, will be C.W. Anderson. He'll have 11 points and will be the new number one contender. But obviously, this will be a babyface versus babyface match, which might prevent me from wanting to do that as the main event, especially given that C.W. Anderson is actually not a great performer, and Dan Severn at this point has not proven that he can carry um, these matches in quite the same way. I think we're going to have Dave Batista make the challenge, as we discussed previously that we were going to do on this show that we've just done. Maybe there's a tag team match in there where we've got Dave Batista and somebody against the Shadow and somebody. Not sure. But yeah, I've got to think about this. I'm not at all clear on what the rest of this next card is going to be. It's our second November card. We want the title to be on the line. Um, I think it's right that we have that match. But yeah, it's just a question of what else we want to do. And that will also inform whether we want to hire anybody else. Um, I have got a list of potential signings that I've been looking at, but it's difficult to, it's difficult to think clearly when I'm recording still about what's going to come next. Um, let's just have a quick look at the top 100 before we go any further. Showdown's our third best show of all time, so it was a really good show. And in terms of matches, there will be one or two bits and pieces in here. So we had a number of 39 matches. In fact, Dan Severn's match with Kimo was the 14th best of all time. So again, that's actually really encouraging from Kimo's perspective. We also had Sean Stasiak versus ECMO, which was right up there in 13th, so just a cut above. And also CM Punk and Chris Adams versus Buddy Wayne and Billy Kidman is 18th best. So there's some decent matches on that one. And yeah, titles, Dan Severn, his second successful title defense, and they've all got better so far, so that's good. but I think that might be partially to do with his opponents, because you remember he didn't click with the shadow, and then he faced Ekmo, and it was only when he faced Kimo they got a really good match. So yeah, I don't actually know what I'm going to do next. And I'm also reluctant to fast forward the game onto the next show. I haven't even booked the next show, by the way, but I'm reluctant to do it without knowing what is going to be on that show. And I don't want to shortchange you. We are 5 minutes short of our usual half an hour, which is what I want to bring you. So I guess the thing to start doing is to think about what is next at the next show. So as I say, let's look at the rankings. Dan Severn is going to face CW Anderson, I think, because bear in mind Kimo will now be down near the bottom. Behind him is going to be CM Punk on 10 points, Charlie Haas on 9, and Stasiak won as well, didn't he? So he's on 8 points. Buchanan would have lost. Batista didn't wrestle. Ace still lost. So the rest are quite a long way down. We've got Mark Henry back. So one thing I'm going to do is sign a new manager. So this is what I've proposed to do about the this is what I propose to do about um the sorry, I lost my concentration then. This is what I'm proposing to do about the situation with Mark Henry and Woman, right? Is that they're not suited to one another. So we need a manager to come in and manage. We don't want him to be an active wrestler necessarily, um, and manage Mark Henry basically. I'm going to make sure they've got some decent microphone skills at least. Yeah, we're going to bring in somebody to manage Mark Henry. In fact, we can probably go higher on our microphone skills, given that given that there were so many on that list. So Al Getz was somebody I was looking at previously because he'll be very cheap. Bill Alfonso is not particularly expensive. So Al Getz, Billy Graham, Dave Prazak I could bring in. So he's at 67 to 97. He's a 43 to 88. So his microphone skills are not guaranteed. Alfonso, 79 to 87. Tempted to bring in Bill Alfonso, you know. I know he's working for ECW as well, but I'm also tempted. I could go with Dave Prazak. Francine's not terrible on the microphone. Jasmine St. Clair, Jeff Bailey, Jim Cornette, way too expensive, I think, for a manager for us. Paul Heyman, 240 per show. I mean, he's got an exclusive handshake deal with ECW, so I couldn't bring him in, I don't think. Nana, Rude, Feinstein, Stacey Carr, Tori Wilson. I think it's going to be between Getz, Bill Alfonso, and Dave Prazak. I'm going to go with Alfonso, you know. And I've got to pray he can work with Mark Henry. That's the problem. Because if he can't and I bring him in, then we've got a problem. Maybe I'm going to bring this guy in, Dave Prazak. I got a feeling he's well known to some people for his work on the Indies. I don't really know anything about him, so I'm not, I don't care so much. But I like, but just the way he looks, it feels like he could be somebody who's kind of a little bit more manipulative and therefore potentially could control Mark Henry. Because the story's got to be that whoever woman transfers Henry's contract over to and can control Mark Henry, right? That's got to be the story. I'm going to go with Bill Alfonso. Let's see what happens. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Simple as that, really. So, yeah, Bill Alfonso's coming in. And I guess that gives us scope to bring in other people that are associated with Bill Alfonso. So, yeah, I think that will work. What I'm going to do, though, I think I might bring in Bill Alfonso as a referee first. No, I think I'll just bring him in as a manager. So what we're going to do on the next show is that woman is going to transfer the contract of Alfonso over of Henry, sorry, over to Alfonso. Effectively, woman's going to give up trying to control him, is going to accept that it was a mistake to take on another client. She's got to serve the Shadow, and she can also factor in the fact that Shadow lost the title whilst she was also trying to manage another person. So all those things considered, she wants to focus on the Shadow, and she's going to transfer the contract of Mark Henry over to Bill Alfonso on our next event. And that has taken us up to the half an hour mark. Apologies for the sort of weird ending to this episode, but I do need to plan out the next show, which I hadn't considered doing because I haven't had the time lately to do two shows on the same episode. But it just so happened that I might have been able to do it at the time if I'd have made those plans ahead. So yeah, thank you for watching today. As I said before, like and subscribe, all the rest of it, all the good stuff that you would usually hear from everybody who does any video on YouTube. And I'll catch you the next time.